This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com with a daily wrestling news update for you. Before I get into it, I just want to thank Dr. Peter. I hope you're watching this. You tipped me $250 yesterday, Dr. Peter, and I really appreciate it. So I wanted to give you a shout out. Raw did its second lowest viewership in history on Monday night. The ratings were a little late coming in due to the July 4th weekend. It did the same 18 to 49 rating as last week, 0.49, but it only had 1.69 million viewers, which, as I said, is the second lowest viewership in history. We saw Heath Slater return on Raw. He was released in April. He's still getting paid by WWE. From what I understand, according to reports, everyone that was released in April is still under contract with WWE until July 18th, from what I understand. So it's unknown whether they've re-signed him or if he was just working for them because they're still paying him. He did look like now that he's not under WWE contract, maybe he's done a bit of juice. I know WWE allows testosterone replacement therapy and they don't test for growth hormone, from what I understand. But I noticed both Heath Slater and what's his name? The guy that played Festus, Luke Gallows. He also looks bigger since he's left WWE because, I don't know, maybe they're just trading harder. But also as far as I know, Ring of Honor, AEW, Impact, MLW, as far as I know, there's no like wellness program with any of those companies. One thing I don't think WWE should test for is weed. It's legal here in Canada, and you're going to have less side effects from taking THC than you will for drinking, which can cause people to go nuts. Matt Riddle released a video today where he is denying the speaking out allegations against him. As I've already reported, I don't think in any of the allegations against anyone so far, no formal charges have been laid against anyone. So it's basically pure hearsay at this point, as far as I'm concerned, related to everyone. Even though there's people with allegations I don't like, I do feel that these alleged victims should definitely press charges if there was actual foul play involved, because that's the way of doing things through the authorities, not just shaming people. People forget very easily online. People have short memories. I did mention in my update last night, someone asked me about WCW star Jerry Flynn. He is still alive. I checked it out. Some people thought that person was asking me about Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn works for All Elite Wrestling as an agent. It was Jerry Flynn who had like a martial arts gimmick in WCW that I was being asked about. The Warlord has confirmed that he is going to be doing his shoot interview with me tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. I know everyone on here has also been looking forward to it. My full Tito Santana interview is up at patreon.com/thehannibaltv. We also have some new t-shirts out. If you go to our t-shirt link at thehannibaltv.com, or if you just scroll down to our Teesprings store, you can support us in that way. And if people buy our merchandise, I've done it before. If you take a picture of yourself wearing the merchandise, we'll share it on our social media. Mr. Showbiz guy says, hey, Dev. NeoGX says, it's sad. I find more interest in wrestling interviews than actual wrestling. I did put out a compilation video earlier today about Harley Race, people talking about him, various shoot interview clips. It's almost an hour long. And when I was editing that, I couldn't stop but think there's no wrestler today at all like Harley Race. I mean, this guy was tough as nails. He would defend wrestling. He would never tell you everyone's friends in the back. He would never tell you that I just go out there and tell stories. He was just a man's man, and he made you believe, unlike the wrestlers of today. There's some good technicians, like AJ Styles is a good technician, but he doesn't make you believe. I saw it last I heard in AEW, Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears were enemies, and I saw recently a tweet that Shawn Spears tweeted out, a picture of himself and Tully Blanchard, supposed to be enemies of Cody Rhodes. And I noticed that Cody Rhodes liked it from his Twitter account, so it's like, I can't get into AEW. I liked WCW when they had the cruiserweights in 1 or 2 matches on the Nitro, but when 90% of a program is cruiserweight style wrestling, it just is a huge turnoff to me. Jordan Holton, what kind of other jobs do the wrestlers that work for Great North Wrestling do? There is tons of variety in the jobs that independent wrestlers do. Some of them are educated and have office jobs. Some of them work at car dealerships. Some of them work in security. Some of them are personal trainers. There's no like common job on the independent scene. You can find people doing everything. Pedor Cantor says wrestling will die in our lifetime. Well, if something doesn't change drastically, I don't see interest going up. I mean, they released Paul Heyman for when Paul Heyman, I think the lowest rating Paul Heyman got on Raw was a 0.46. So they kind of fired him as like a scapegoat excuse, according to a lot of reports, as to why Raw was getting so low ratings. But Smackdown was in the 0.4. It was 0.4, I believe, last week. So Bruce Pritchard is now also getting in the 0.4 ratings consistently over the past few weeks. So I wonder if he'll be the next scapegoat. I mean, are they going to bring Vince Russo back at some point? It's possible they might. It's very possible they might. Mathis says he's been thinking a lot about Billy Jack Haynes. I hope he's safe and doing well. I actually thought about him at the gym last night. I was doing traps, and I was doing heavy traps for the first time in probably 110 days since the lockdown. And I was, for some reason, I was thinking about how big Billy Jack Haynes' traps used to be. And it is weird that he's kind of dropped off the face of the earth since April. Early April is the last anyone's really heard from him. His phone numbers don't work anymore. I know he was living with Rip Oliver in Florida before Rip passed. And the last I heard from him was actually the day that Rip Oliver passed, and then just before WrestleMania was canceled, I heard from him again, and then I never heard from him since, so I hope he's okay. Blake Hansen, do I keep in touch with the Honky Tonk Man? We say hello here and there. He doesn't want much to do with wrestling these days. I hope to get another shoot interview with him one day. I am working on a video right now. It's going to be like a 6-hour compilation video of all the shoot interviews I've ever done with Honky Tonk Man. And I hope to convince him one day to do another full interview with me, because I believe the highest viewed shoot interview, both in the history of this channel and the history of online shoot interviews, with over 3 million views, is coincidentally the very first shoot interview I ever did with the Honky Tonk Man and the production values were very low. I'd love to do another one with him, but I think I got to be in a position where I can make him an offer he can't refuse. I'm not quite there yet. Straight up pimp, do I find Sunny to be sexy? She's been with too many guys, particularly that she's also had sex with a bunch of people I know directly. And when I know the person, like say it's one of my friends or even an acquaintance, when I know someone I know has had sex with a girl, it really like makes me never want to have sex with them for whatever reason. But no, I don't find her sexy. She's long past her prime, and she's just too much of a. She's been with too many people. It's kind of gross. Owen Smith, Paul Heyman was probably put in virtual handcuffs, booking and writing for WWE. Maybe, but he still had a lot of pull. He was head writer. So when you're head writer, you have a lot of pull. Paul Heyman has become corporate when he had his own money on the line, when he was funding ECW with his own money, and literally if the company started failing, he would lose everything, which he ended up doing. He ended up owing tons of people money that even when in later years he became rich, he never paid any of those people back, to my knowledge, from the people I've interviewed. But when it was his own money, like he lived and died by ECW. So that's motivation to come up with good content. But WWE, he's just on the payroll, and he's still on the payroll as Brock Lesnar's manager. And he's also old. I believe he's got to be in his, someone can tell me in the comments, but I believe he's in his 60s. When you're in your 60s, I don't know. I don't know if you can come up with good content for people in their 20s and 30s. You kind of lose touch. I mean, Vince is in his mid-70s. So that tells you a thing or two about why the product is so bad. I listened to an interview with Vince McMahon and Steve Austin. He reposted it. It was an older interview. I brought this up last week, but I didn't bring up this part of the interview where Vince McMahon discussed how he used to book all of WWE's television sitting by the pool with either Patterson or Bruce Pritchard. And apparently when they would have visitors, office staff, wrestlers, T-shirt designers, whatever, one thing that Vince found hilariously funny would be to push people into the pool in their full clothes when they weren't expecting it. And the way he described this, he's actually laughing as he's talking about it, as if it's like the funniest thing of all time. But it just goes to show you, back in those days when it was like 3-4 people max writing by Vince's pool, the product was a lot better than now. They have like 30 writers. But also the mentalities. Could you imagine now, in how corporate the WWE environment is, if Vince McMahon were to push an office staff member into the pool, what the backlash would be and how terrible it would be, and people would be filing lawsuits and speaking out over it. Whereas in the old days, I mean, that was just a normal gag that you would play in the WWE. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but the booking was definitely better when it was 3 or 4 guys sitting out by Vince's pool. Now you have like 30 people coming up with shitty ideas. I really can't remember the last good. I guess the last good idea I saw was that fake angle they did with Nyla Rose, where she reportedly busted up a girl, and they edited it out, but they got the whole internet talking. I guess that was a Paul Heyman angle. That was one of the last thing Paul Heyman did before he was released, and that was one of the most believable angles I've seen in WWE. Bera7331 donated $5 to my protein shake fund. I'll be getting that tonight. I just finished my pre-workout beet shake here because I'm going to the gym after this. Someone says Cornette said Vince ribbed him when he had a new shoe and pushed it in the pool. Yeah, like the pushing in the pool. Could you guys imagine that happening today? Just the way people take everything so seriously. I don't think you would ever see Vince McMahon push someone in the pool. Not that he could. He's 75 years old. But yeah, imagine Triple H push. First of all, Triple H is more of a geek. He wouldn't even push someone in a pool if he was allowed to do it. He's very by the book, corporate, doesn't party, very boring guy. But whatever. Barlight Broker, tip me $2. Big gold chain fund. No, I'll actually put that towards my future interviews. As I said, I got Warlord tomorrow, Raven next week. I think I might check back in with Scott Norton. I talked to him about a month ago, and he wanted me to check back in with him. So I'll keep working on other ones. I heard someone say today, someone sent me a report. It looks like the border between U.S. and Canada might be closed now for the remainder of the year. I mean, as I said in my update yesterday, we have only had like 106,000 total COVID cases in Canada. But for some reason this week here in Ontario, they're now making it mandatory to wear masks. If you go out in public, you could get up to $1,000 fine if you don't wear a mask, which means I will just drive half an hour to Quebec to work out because the gyms are still closed here anyways, to grocery shop because half an hour away, there are no restrictions. Things are really weird in this time, but I understand in the U.S. a lot more people have it, but the fact of the matter is the seniors' residences should be locked down. Those people are at serious risk, but all of these 40-plus WWE talent that have it, I guarantee you none of them are going to die. Very few people die from getting this that are healthy. So thanks a lot for the tips, Barlight Broker and Barra7331. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Hannibal TV. I have a second YouTube channel that I do post some custom content on, DEVONNICHOLSON. We're also on Facebook at the Hannibal TV. So we also have a Great North Wrestling podcast too on iTunes. The link is in the description of this video. I post my full shoot interviews on there, ad-free audio version. So have a great night.